Dear Canadians, last November, Trump jokingly proposed turning Canada into the 51st state of the United States. The first reaction of many of you was, does it mean we will lose our healthcare? There is an old Chinese idiom called morning 3, evening 4, 朝三暮四, which comes from an old story. In ancient times, a monkey trainer fed his monkeys chestnuts. He told the monkeys, I will give you 3 chestnuts in the morning and 4 in the evening. How does that sound? His monkeys were furious and refused the deal. So the trainer changed his offer. All right then, 4 in the morning and 3 in the evening. The monkeys were overjoyed and immediately agreed. Please don't laugh at these monkeys. At least they knew whether it was 3 in the morning and 4 in the evening, or 4 in the morning and 3 in the evening. The total number of chestnuts they got isn't less. However, using tax revenue collected from every Canadian and operating under a completely state-controlled system, a system we Chinese know all too well, planned economy, to provide the so-called free healthcare will significantly reduce the overall quality and the efficiency of the medical system, while jacking up its costs. In other words, compared to a market-based healthcare system, the so-called free healthcare, monopolized by the Canadian government, actually results in a severe reduction in the quantity, quality, and the efficiency of healthcare services that every Canadian could have had. And even for this diminished level of healthcare service, Canadians are still collectively paying, just in a less visible way. These are basic economic principles. Yet, many Canadians treat this economically unsound healthcare system as a treasure, fearing that if Canada merges with the US, they will say goodbye to it. I just don't get it. Of course, I know the US healthcare isn't much better, and it has its own set of flaws. The murder of the CEO of United Healthcare last December is just one example of how broken and unjust their medical system is. Even so, every year, many Canadians, despite enjoying the free healthcare in Canada, are willing to pay out of their own pockets to travel south for medical treatment in the US. Doesn't that say something? What's more expensive than a treatment that you can't even buy with your money when you desperately need it? Dear Canadians, if I were you, I wouldn't take Trump's comment about making Canada the 51st state of the United States seriously at all. It is obvious that he was just mocking your beloved Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, whom I believe Trump couldn't help but despise. Still remember when Trudeau publicly attributed Trump's victory in the last US election to the misogyny of his supporters while portraying himself as a staunch ally of women?
No, it shouldn't be that way. It wasn't supposed to be that way. We were supposed to be on a steady, if difficult sometimes, march towards progress. And yet, just a few weeks ago, the United States voted for a second time to not elect its first woman president. Everywhere, women's rights and women's progress is under attack, overtly and subtly. But I want you to know that I am, and always will be, a proud feminist. You will always have an ally in me and in my government.
What kind of prime minister would insult the newly elected leader of his country's largest trading partner like that? If you have even the slightest understanding of your neighbor's political system, you'd realize that if Canada became the 51st state, it would mean Canada would gain 2 US senators and at least 3 to 4 dozen representatives in Congress. Now, take a look at how many Electoral College votes and popular votes Trump led over Kamala Harris in the last election. Then consider this. Canadians elected Justin Trudeau, an economic genius, to be their prime minister for 9 whole years, who managed to shrink Canada's per capita GDP from nearly equal to the US to just 70% of it, before he finally stepped down last month. Given that, do you really think Trump, who battled the Democrats for 8 long years, would ever allow tens of millions of new Democrat-leaning voters into the US political system, thereby allowing the Democrats to govern the US forever? Trump's campaign slogan is "Make America Great Again," not "Make America the Second Canada." To be honest, I think becoming the 51st state of the United States should be at the bottom of your worry list. By the way, I have been as polite and sincere as I possibly can be. So please don't be offended by my sincerity.